Okay guys, in this video I want to share with you my sales and profit margins from July. I'm also going to include how much work I put into Amazon FBA in July so you guys can get an idea of how passive the income can be. I've had quite a few requests from people asking me to share some recent sales and recent profit margins, so if you find this sort of content useful, hit that like button and I'll make sure I do more of these going forward. So let's get straight into things and let's look at an overview. This is straight from Seller Central. Obviously I've cropped out my brand name. This is the business report section from Seller Central, and this shows my sales for July 2019. So July was quite an interesting month. It was my first Prime Day, and as I mentioned in previous videos, I wasn't really planning on doing much, and if I was going to do something, it wasn't going to be something huge. In the end, I decided to not do a thing, and we can see how that impacted sales on this graph above. So let's just focus on Prime Day first. So you can see as we go through them, I think Prime Day was the 15th and 16th. It was a 2-day event this year. So generally sales are fairly consistent. And you might see this occasionally as well in your sales. For example, this is a Sunday, so it's quite often if you have a big Sunday, it will generally be followed by a quiet Monday. So just keep that in mind when you do start selling, that sometimes if you have a big day, the next day could be quite quiet. And also this, in the early days, make sure it doesn't encourage you to make changes to your listing. You know, just because you've sold £700 of goods one day and you sold, I don't know, what's about £300 of goods the next day, doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It can just be natural Amazon fluctuation in the sales. So here we go. So we're going through to Prime Day. The week before Prime Day, I must admit, I felt was slightly quieter than the averages I had been seeing over the last couple of months. And then on Prime Day itself, saw a small spike, not a huge spike, and considering I didn't do a thing and I was still selling at full price with no promotional offers, I was very happy to see that I continued to sell well on Prime Day, on both Prime Days, should I say. And then things continued well for the rest of the month, and last week was very, very good and actually was pretty much up with Prime Day for the entire week. So it was a very good month of sales, very consistent. And you can see here, if you look down, you've got roughly each day doing around £500 to £600 of sales is generally where I'm at the moment, which gave me an overall sales figure of 18,750. There are also, usually you'd see a B2B column on here for sales to business customers. I just took those out to make it a bit clearer for you guys to see the overall figures, but I think I did about £250 of sales to B2B customers, and I'll show you that on the next slide. So there we go, so £18,750 of sales. Sold 867 units. There was some B2B units as well, so it's slightly higher. Average sale price just over £20. So okay, so the sales sound really good, but how does this equate to profit? So I'm going to take you through the 3 different products that I've got. As you know, I've mentioned in the last few videos that one of my products I am moving away from, so I've been selling that through at break even, so I'm going to get to that in a second. So overall total units was 867, which I showed you on the last slide, and then there was 21 B2B sales, so overall 888. Now in terms of sales, there was, as I mentioned on the last slide, it was that for general consumer sales, and there's £235 of B2B sales, so giving me an overall total of just under £19,000 of sales. So of this is how it breaks down for my 3 products. So 223 of these units were my third product, which I'm currently selling through at break even. I'm not spending anything on PPC, I've just dropped the cost to break even so I can clear those through. So I sold 200 of those this month, or 223, no profit, but I'm getting the money back. And that's one thing to consider when you're selling on Amazon. I get a lot of emails from people obviously concerned about making that initial investment and the risk of investing a few £1,000s in a product. What if it all goes wrong? Well, my view is that generally, even if things do, they don't work out, you can normally either break even by doing what I'm doing and selling at break even, or you can either sell below break even, make a small loss. I mean, in the worst case scenario, say for example your account gets suspended and you're unable to get it reactivated, you could potentially recall your stock and either sell it in bulk on eBay or some of the other outlets. So there's always, it shouldn't be the case that you ever lose all of your investment. You might lose some of your investment, you might be able to break even, but just keep that in mind that when you are worrying about the huge risk that you could be taking with your money, that it might not be a case of such black and white that you're either going to make profit or you're going to lose it all. You might find you're up in the middle at break even, like I have done with this product further down the line. My second product, which I've been selling since February, this has been going well. Had a slightly quiet month, mainly due to a competitor that entered the marketplace last month with loads of fake reviews, managed to manipulate the listings, so that knocked me off my positions, a couple of places, because his product looked quite similar to mine. So people obviously flock into his product with all the fake reviews and the gallery photos and stuff like that. So that was slightly frustrating, but the product still did well. And the latter half of the month, I've been able to recover my rankings through launching a new PPC campaign. So overall, this product makes £8.14 per unit. Now my profit per unit has dropped since I became VAT registered in May, but I'm still making £8 per sale on this. So roughly that second product generated around £2,000 of profit, which is not bad for one product. I mean, when I launched these products, I think I was aiming to make £750 profit per month per product. So these are well above expectations at the moment. And my first product, which I've been selling since September 2018, sold 415 of those this month. I'm just about to go out of stock today, which is unfortunate. I'm doing really well on Amazon choice for 4 of my keywords. I'm the bestseller in the category. It's a really good position from a sales perspective, but I'll be out of stock for probably 2 weeks because I've got a container arriving in 5 days. So the container arrives and it'll take a week for unpacking from the container ship, and then another week to get to Amazon. So I'm probably going to be out of stock for probably close to 3 weeks, which is, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I'd rather have sold through and run out of stock than be sat here with loads left in stock worrying how I'm going to shift them. So that product made just under 3,200. So overall, a total profit of £5,200 for the month. As I mentioned, I did run some PPC this month because I had to do kind of a mini relaunch for that second product. Initially, I was targeting the same keywords I used when I launched the product, but my ACOS was kind of 30-35% due to this competitor taking the sales off the keywords that I was targeting. So I decided to launch a product targeting campaign, and at the moment I've got my ACOS down to about 15%, and I'm just picking sales off of other products and getting some really, really strong results from that. So I spent £500 on PPC, giving me an overall profit for this month for £4,725, which is approximately 25% margin on that £19,000 of sale. So that's my figures for the month. If them figures look promising to you guys, hit that like button, because hopefully it shows you guys that it is possible. I started this business last September, and I've got 2 products that made me just under £5,000 this month, and the amount of work I've put in was very, very minimal. So I thought this month I would show you how passive it was. So I was away for the first week, so I didn't do very much at all the first week of July. So I looked back to see exactly what I've done this month. So I've replied to 8 customer messages this month. Now, generally, most of those are invoice requests. Once you become VAT registered, Amazon can automatically issue those invoices for you. So going forward, Amazon will be taking care of these. A few of these requests were from people who bought like 1 or 2 months ago when I wasn't VAT registered. So I just had to send them a standard invoice and saying, look, I'm not VAT registered, or the company was not VAT registered when you purchased this product, so that we're unable to provide a VAT receipt. You can only provide a standard invoice. You cannot provide a VAT invoice if you were not VAT registered at the point of or at the date of sale for that product. So 8 customer messages. Generally, it's people with questions about the product, invoice requests, stuff like that. It's normally quite easy, and you can deal with it with kind of a paragraph or 2 of text. I set up the new product focused PPC campaign to relaunch product 2. That probably took me less than half hour. All I have to do is go for Amazon, look for similar products that have got a lower review, are selling at a similar cost, and they're generating traffic, but they aren't generating over a huge amount of sales. So I've got my product onto those pages, and it's been performing really, really well over the last couple of weeks. I check my sales once per day. As you guys know, I uninstalled the app off my phone quite a few months ago. Best thing I've ever done. So if you start Amazon FBA, sure, install it for the first month or 2 because it's very, very exciting when you first start. But after that, uninstall that app. It will keep you sane, and it will stop you checking your sales too frequently and making bad decisions for your business. So check the sales once per day, which takes a few minutes. And this is kind of a one-off, this one. I spent quite a few hours talking to my accountant, going back and forth, sorting out the figures for the first VAT return. As I registered back in May, I think was the official date. My first VAT return was due at the end of June, so you have just over 5 weeks from the end of the VAT period to submit your VAT return, so it has to be submitted by the 7th of August. We submitted it yesterday. So we spent quite a few hours with my accountant getting that right, because the first VAT return you can claim back up to 6 months of VAT outcome, your VAT spend from the first part of your business. So there's a lot of money you can claim back that you probably may have written it off and not expected to get it back. So hopefully I'm going to get about £6,000 back off of my first VAT return that I hadn't planned to get You know, these are VAT fees that I paid to Amazon originally that I can now claim back now that I've become VAT registered. So keep that in mind. Keep records of all your purchases, and then when you do find an accountant and become VAT registered, you can quite often reclaim a lot of that VAT. So overall, I've rounded it up. I've said I've spent 2 days on the business this month. To be honest, it was probably less than 2 days. But for 2 days, for just under £5,000, I mean, it's very, very passive at the moment. It's very passive to run an Amazon FBA business. When you start the Amazon FBA business, as I've shown in previous videos, it's a lot more involved. But once you get up and running, you've got products established and they're selling well, it can become very passive. So let me know what you think of those figures in the comments below. If you want me to do more of these videos showing you my income, profit margin, stuff like that, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.